that you keep in mind a few things. Now, if you are presenting a business plan, this is going to mean then that you will present in front of either financial institutions with prospective investors or partners. So it's very important to be very confident about what you're saying and also to behave very professional. This will inspire confidence in you as well as in your business plan. So you're going to tell the investors or the potential stakeholders a little bit more about the business, which is very important because you actually want them to buy into the business. This will inspire confidence, as I said, and also conviction. So conviction is where you actually have a lot of confidence to do something that you believe in. Okay, so this also ensures that the business plan is carefully edited. Make sure that there is no mistakes, especially spelling mistakes in this. And it should also be neatly typed out and bound, should that be what you want, to hand out to a set to each person that is actually involved when you present, so that they can follow or then also know where you are. All right, so we've got a checklist here at the bottom of page 110, which is then the introduction. Should be short and interesting. So this would be the first thing that they will hear from you and about your business. So make it short, make it interesting, make it colorful, maybe put in a little bit of movement, whatever you want in there. Then will the presentation grab the listener's attention? So whatever you say or whatever is going to happen within the first few minutes or the first minute will then be actually what will make them to be interested in the business or the business idea. Are the objectives clearly spelled out? So did you actually tell them exactly what this objectives of the business is? Do you have clearly defined main points which you will focus on? Do you have a logic sequence? And that is why we've actually done the business plan on page 108 so that you can follow a specific sequence because it should logically actually follow each other. Does the presentation flow from the one topic to the next one? And that you will also get when you go through the aspects of the business plan. Is the font big enough for everyone to see? Good idea is to always rather use Arial and then size 12. Or presentations, I think it's 22 or 25, depending on what how much you actually write there. Do you support some of the main points with visual aids and also possible calculations? Now, if it is a stakeholder, they would like to actually see calculations. They want to see numbers, figures. You can also include a few ideas, maybe in the form of pictures, that they can see what you mean. If you don't have a prototype, you should include that. Do you have a summary at the end, like a conclusion? And then do you have strong arguments in the conclusion? And does the conclusion link up with the introduction? So this must bring everything together now. Page 111. Do you have sufficient knowledge of all the topics covered in your presentation? Now, the stakeholders might ask you a few questions regarding statements or facts that you are making. So you must be prepared. You must actually have done research regarding that. Are you your notes in the correct order? So the notes will be then the slideshow that you're going to have, and that should then be in an order that you are going to talk. Otherwise, you keep on whoever is helping and supporting you say, now go forward, now go back, whatever. It's not organized, and it's not a good image that they might get from your business. Have you practiced your speech and paid attention to your body language and your tone of voice? So obviously, certain things you will emphasize, and that will be by either using your tone voice, your voice of tone, or then where you can maybe add a little bit of a pause or speak a little bit louder or softer, whatever you want to do. Body language, very important. If you cross your arms and you approach people, that means close communication. So that's not a very approachable body language for any stakeholders specifically or financial institutions. Are you appropriately dressed? Now, if you enter the stakeholders with a neckline that is just above your belly button, I don't think they, depending on what you're selling, obviously. No, I'm joking. No, that is not appropriate. Also, shoes. Don't wear the heels that you can't walk on. Huh? That doesn't give a good image of you and your business. Okay, last one. Do you use the correct terminology and applicable examples? So that is what you should do. Now, should you actually represent your business in the form of a PowerPoint, there's also a few things that is pointers that is important here regarding presentations. Do not copy everything from your business plan. Don't rewrite the whole thing. Just copy the most important stuff. Also use legible and clear fonts that creates a professional image. If you want to maybe use very curly writing, everyone can't really read that. And remember, this is people who are business orientated. So they're not there for fancy. They want to see the facts, and that's it. Use bullet points. If you have more than one point on a slide, and then use keywords and important concepts. So don't try to prevent to write sentences, rather keywords, because remember now you're going to talk, you're going to sell this business to the financial institution. Then use PowerPoints that are designed and with animation features. Not too much though. You can add a little bit of movement. It must still look professional though. Also make key notes for yourself so that you don't forget what you've written or what you wanted to say in each slideshow. Okay, or in each slide. Then highlight the most important aspects of the presentation right at the end, and that will be part of your summary. Okay, then activity 5.5, prepare PowerPoint slides for your presentation. Do not use more than 20 slides. Now, 20 slides is a lot. Most of the times for Allan Gray, we always just have 5 slides, and that is about 3 minutes time that you have to complete that. Speaking about Allan Gray, it is that time of the year again where we're starting to look at businesses and also people who might be interested in enrolling for Allan Gray competition. So Allan Gray competition stands on 360,000, the winning prize. That is obviously to start your small business. Could be you entering the business because you have your own business with paying customers, or you have a business idea. Now, I haven't received all the information yet, but as soon as I do, I will then share that with you as well. I would like to maybe just get for the first rounds, which is again going to be against the rest of our college, meaning Strand, Stellenbosch, Caledon, and Worcester, and then obviously us. I would like to have a few participants there as well. I normally take about 6 students with me. No cost to you. We will carry all the costs. And then obviously if you win there, you get obviously the first 2 prizes. You get some very good items to use then for your presentation to go to the regional competition. Okay, so keep that in mind. Maybe you have something that you developed or an innovation regarding producing food, or then maybe something in the technology. That is likely the very important factors that they are actually emphasizing. Okay, so a little bit later, I will show you a few slideshows regarding the Alan Gray competitions that actually ran previously. So let us just finish our last bit here, and that is the evaluation that evaluate the adopted business plan. So now you looked at your business plan, you did actually do the presentation, and you did design that with all the points that we've mentioned. You've ticked all the checklist boxes, and now you have to evaluate this. So how do you evaluate it? The criteria that is important is first thing is in the front page and content page. So obviously the name of the business, the address and the logo should be here. Then a summary, which highlights the key materials in the plan, and then the description of the proposed business, which is your products and services, also the type of market, the competition, your SWOT analysis, your own involvement, and then location and the type of business. Then marketing plan. This is your segmentation that you include, the market potential, also your product or services, and then your promotion strategy, your competition, your prices, and your location or layout. Financial plan, this is obviously a little bit of figures. As I said, they would like to see calculations. So fixed assets, also monthly profit or loss account, your monthly cash flow, the statement of financial position, that is your balance sheet, and then financial requirements, and then your own contribution. So operational plan, purchasing, your supplier analysis, your inventory control, also security, office administration, your insurance, legal documentation, and the human resource plan. Then the conclusion, why the business will succeed, also motivate. This will be your motivation for the loan. Remember, I said the conclusion will be, and the summative assessment will be the first things that any financial institution will read. Then general, the approach, appearance, and then neatness, also the evidence of research and your logic approach. This will all then add up to what would be the criteria for an evaluated and adopted business plan. Now, let me show you a few business plans that we've done for Alan Gray, so that you can just see more or less what we've done. This was last year. Not sure if you can see this one. No, you can't. Let me just share this quickly. Okay, here is one for Healthbox. So what this was an idea that the student had to actually have a very healthy box or food presentation, like a lunch box for school children, or then even people who need a specific nutritional supplements or any of those things. The area that you wanted, and then the solution, there's an idea of what she had. This was what it was supposed to look like. So affordable, that is a solution. Also healthy, nutritious, and mostly plant-based food. Tastes amazing, satisfy the customers' needs, and then convenient because it's ready to take away. what she did was she actually used this kind of containers, which she recycled. So she used it or reused. So she reused it every time. This was a hospitality student. In the customers, who they are, the target market, and then a little bit of calculations regarding yeah, different calculations. Is also how the business contribute positive to society and the environment. Ensure that the children and students have healthy food. Also, a meal a day will boost your energy. Job creations because you hired people in the community. Plant-based protein pack, which is eco-friendly in eco-friendly containers. And then packaging that was used in recycled products to protect the environment, also increase wealth in the community by creating jobs. And that was that one. Okay. I'm going to show you one more. This one was Linda Sinku. She was looking at, can you see this one? Sure. No, don't think so. Just share this one quickly. Now, Linda wanted to open a laundromat in the area where she stays because she identified the problem or the need for the washing that doesn't get dry during winter time. Okay, so this is then her presentation. Problem that was actually stated in the size of the problem. So she looked at the segmentation, also who would be the target market, the solution. It saved time for those who work long hours, is convenient. Stains can be removed, professional ironing, and then also quality cleaning. And then she wanted to include a coffee shop as well. Okay, customers, there's the whole profile of the customers. And then how your business idea contribute positive to society. Solar panels she included, tanks to maximize water wastage and also usage. And then this was recycled water, economic growth by creating jobs, also professional handling of chemicals, and then meaning that I will be using cold water to reduce the energy level and so on. Okay, finances. This is what her finances looked like. So roughly her income per year would be 328,240. Startup costs, that was about 215. And that was in Linda's. And then let me just show you once. This is all people who entered up until the regional competition. They all went to Kimberley. This is Johan van, what's his surname now? Not van Staden, Johan, forgot his surname now. Let me just see, can you see this or not? Share it quickly with you guys. I don't think you can see it. That one. He is a life coach and also motivational speaker. So he called his business Mountain Counseling. Okay, so just try and open it again. Okay. Right, so mountain counseling, he actually takes people out to go hiking. And then his mission was to build a well-established business with an excellent professional reputation that connect on a personal level with its clients, offering a unique blend of counseling and also nature to help individuals navigate life's emotional and physical challenges. This is a real business, paying business, so this is for real. This vision provides a service to people from all walks of life, guiding them through their emotional and physical challenges by harnessing the health power of nature, healing power of nature. We aim to expand our service into wellness retreatment and online counseling. Okay, so there's real pictures of him challenges. So he obviously take you to challenges and then you must then go through that as we get challenges in life as well. Target market, individuals seeking balance and also mental well-being through nature, includes stress professionals and also the market size. Then the calculations, this is what his business is actually costs him, the startup. So potential is then to get about 330,000 gross income per annum. And then the success story. So yeah, you've included references of real people. Okay, this the new one. Let me just show you the one that we actually went to nationals with this presentation. And that is the one for Robinique Daniels. I don't know who of you remember her. She was a student here a year ago about. Oh, where is it now? Okay, so she was the one representing the Western Cape regarding having a business with paying customers. So Puzzlers for Kids, I don't know who of you have seen this on Amazon. She's really selling books. There she is. Maybe you remember her now. She actually used to wear glasses. Robinique Daniels. She was a marketing management student in N5. She had class with me, and I actually forced her to do this. And she, yeah, she really enjoyed it. So we went to national competition where she met quite a lot of people. Unfortunately, she didn't win the money, but the basic education signed up with her to get books for people who are abused or who need this for the young people up until 3 years. So she at that time she had two little booklets that was for different ages. And then they actually asked her to write another one. So I think she ended on grade 7. That was the last ones. So the problem statement, emotional environment issues. So children need to be able to understand and communicate their feelings, have empathy, and develop appropriate ways to manage and handle their feelings and choose and those of others. Lacking the ability can lead to inability to form meaningful relationships, also bullying. We know that is a big thing. Development of mental health issues and suicide. Then 4, problem statement, technological impact. We know technology and cell phones are all over. So this results in childhood obesity, also lower self-esteem, minimizes the time children physically interact with others, and then short attention span. Literacy issues, basic literacy among children in South Africa, we know that that declined rapidly and is a big problem. And then illiterate links to poverty, also to unemployment, to crime, and then also low self-esteem. Competitors, that was the ones that she actually did research on. So as you can see, as I've also mentioned to you, if you have facts and you can show that, that will also be a good idea. Then our solution, that this is what our books look like. The one on the left is ages 5 to 8, and then the one on the right, ages 7 to 12. I don't know who of you have seen it. So inside, there's positive affirmation, also word tracing, stuff that will keep them a little bit busy, learning your ABC, maze games, also word scripts, coloring pages, word searching, matching games, and then completing the drawing. Fill in the missing letters. So this is what her books look like. And then she also included what the solution of her books is regarding the problem statements that she mentioned earlier, like just the problem of literacy issues. It improves reading skills, because this is stuff now that the children can read that's not boring, that's not a lot per day to actually cover. Develops understanding and analytic skills, also self-enriching. It's fun to do. Our ideal customer, anyone who is willing to learn and love being creative. So this was, I think the next one after this was for old age people, to keep them busy in the old age homes as well. Then how puzzles for kids contribute to the health, the environment, also socioeconomics, the communities. And that was it. This all happened in 3 minutes time. So if you're interested, you can maybe go and have a look at Alan Gray on YouTube. This was 2023 when we did this one in the national exam, national competition. Okay, so whoever are then interested in this, please let me know, guys. I think this is also a good opportunity. Obviously not part of the curriculum. This is external, but the opportunities that can open up for you is just more than money can actually, more than the prize money. So what she got was not the first prize, but what she got was a lot of networking. And she is actually still busy doing that. She's doing her practicals now. Obviously, that year and a half, I think she's finishing now in June. So, yeah, busy, busy, busy. All right, guys, let us do our summative assessment section A on page 113. And then we will mark that after 10 minutes time. I just want to repeat myself what I said earlier today. If you still need a textbook, please, you have to stay behind so that we can sort you out with the textbook as well. And then the dates will definitely change for the TM1. I will let you guys know tomorrow definitely what the dates are. It's going to be later, as I said. Okay. Okay, 2 more minutes, then we're going to mark this. Okay, so let us mark this then. Question 1, explain what is meant by a credit report. So this is a report that indicates the credit worthiness of the business. Indicates the credit worthiness of the business. This will include your credit history, credit accounts payments, also possible court judgment, or any defaults against the business. Okay, so this is then it indicates the credit worthiness of the business, which then includes credit history, credit accounts payments, possible court judgments, or defaults against the business. Okay, then 1.2. Give any 3 examples of legal documents that can form part of the supporting documents in the business plan. Here you can include contracts of employment, credit agreements, confidentiality agreements, conflict of interest declarations, lease agreements, POPI Act agreements, maybe the mortgage bond and loan agreements. Okay, 1.3, list any 2 types of contracts that can form part of the supporting documents in a business. Here you can again include the contract of employment, any leases, and also loans. Okay, 1.4, What is meant by a business resume? So the business resume is a short overview of a business, highlighting the most important aspects of the business. So there's a short overview of a business, highlighting the most important aspects of the business. Okay, there's then a closed book question. So what you can do is you can also go through the previous modules 1 up to 4, where you can do the closed book and the open book in the preparation for your TM1. Thank you, guys. I will see you tomorrow when we start module 6. Thank you. Have a good afternoon.